Do good work is the essence of the struggle behind waking up at 4 a.m., burning the midnight oil. No one's going to see that. So that's the essence of do good work. But the tangible pieces are to increase your income, company's performance, and to scale profitably. Like, how do you do that while also living a holistic and healthy lifestyle with yourself, relationships, and with the clients, and have no overwhelm?
How could you not like the idea of doing good work? Of course you like that idea. That's why you're going to like to hear from an old friend of mine, Raul Hernandez Ochoa. I've been knowing this guy for several years now. A lot of the concepts I use now, lightly borrowed from him. He owns his own agency where he helps other digital agency owners, B2B experts, become more productive. And he's got it nailed down to a science. Let's listen in and hear what he's got to say. So for anybody watching, listening, my friend Raul, been knowing this guy for a long time. A lot of the stuff I teach, don't tell him, I have straight up stolen from him. The simple, easy to create SOP is got from this guy using Post-it notes on a whiteboard versus trying to write everything down. But look,
I love it.
Dude, I've got
It's kind of cool to see
bunch
your work. You don't see the derivatives of how that impacts people, but it's like small things that you do here and there. They do drive significant impact. Like one of the ladies that I had on the podcast a long time ago. Just because I interviewed her, she is now a speaker for LinkedIn and doing a lot of speaking.
Holy cow!
You never know. You never know the small things that you do.
I'm letting about mine. Tell us. Normally, I don't ask people to describe what they do. We just go straight into it. But what you do is so awesome and unique. Tell folks about what it means to do good work.
Well, do good work is the essence of the struggle behind waking up at 4 a.m., burning the midnight oil. No one's going to see that. So that's the essence of do good work. But the tangible pieces are to increase your income, company's performance, and to scale profitably. Like, how do you do that while also living a holistic and healthy lifestyle with yourself, relationships, and with the clients, and have no overwhelm?
No overwhelm. In terms of the people you work with, are you working with, I don't know, is it mostly agencies? What type of folks are you working with?
A lot of B2B folks, a lot of solo founders, founder-led sales, and primarily their major issues are they're not taking home enough from their company, but they're not winning bigger deal sizes. They're struggling with positioning and need to figure out their go-to-market and operationally scale the back end of their business.
How do they know when they're at a point where they're making money, they want to make a little more? How do they know when it's time to scale? For example, a lot of people that listen, watch here, B2B, they're agency owners, they're coaches, they're advisors. How do they know when it's time to pull off the Band-Aid and start bringing on more people or letting go of some things?
I think it's just a decision, really. It's less about, we can talk about like what you see in the environment, what you see in your business, and how to measure that. But a lot of it is you have to make the internal choice. I'll give you a story. Two of my guys right now that we're literally just beginning the engagement with them. They're quote unquote afraid to scale. Why? Because they think that's growing equals more headaches of what their current operations are facing, longer hours, difficulties, stress, overwhelm, suck. They want to stay steady and they're earning a really solid income and the business is generating really good revenue, but they're afraid to get to that next levels. But it's a decision and I'm not really forcing that decision. Like they have to have it internally. It's like, what? I'm tired of the old. I want to do something new. I want to grow. I'm willing to do the work. And I know that I'm going to have to overcome these limiting beliefs that, hey, more work does not equal more stress.
How do you, I get that. I've gotten that for 20 years from people. What do you tell them to alleviate that concern? And I know for those of you that don't know, Raul can be a little straight to the point too. You may just tell them what they don't want to hear, but how do you soft do that to them, brother?
Softly? I mean, I don't know. I think you nailed it, that it is to the point, and that's why people like working with me. And sometimes it can be a little harsh, but that's a different story. I think it's the fact that I know exactly what they're thinking, and I reiterate that because I've talked and spoken and helped so many people that I have a list exactly what their limiting beliefs are, and I just literally sometimes just read off the list like, this is probably what you're experiencing, and they're like, absolutely, you nailed it on the head. I'm like, okay, cool. You know that we can fix that. And it's for them to decide, am I willing to or do I not want to? Because I can't change someone's internal desire. I can help it influence it. I can help persuade it, but I'm not going to push them to do something they don't want to do.
That was one of the first things I was introduced to with you. Is like, I forget what it said. Like, I'm not very good at X, Y, Z. And you just look limiting belief. Like, oh God. Just, that's right. It is true. So let's say somebody's made the decision. They've got over the limiting belief. They know that we'll use me. I've got a group mastermind and I'm growing it. So what's the first thing I need to do in order to start scaling that thing where I'm out, whatever I'm doing? What do I need to do first?
I think the key thing are you look at the front end and the back end. So front end, I always look at sales and marketing, and then you got to operationalize the plan on the back end for fulfillment. Typically, if your bottleneck is not on the front end, meaning you got good positioning, you got a good offer, good price point, people are coming in, you're getting yeses, and it's a consistent pipeline, and that's not the issue, then you can go to the back end and looking at what can I increase in terms of productivity of productizing the service, the deliverables to it, what people's teams or personnel and tech do I actually need to fulfill on the back end? Because growth is a staircase. In the beginning, usually phase 1 and 2 are positioning, sales, increasing deal size, and profitability. That's number one. It's all financial data, it's all pricing, and it's positioning, and it's sales and marketing. But then
Right.
once you get over that hump, then we start the actual first, step in the stairway. And from here, you feel like you're not growing, but you're actually growing in depth. You're operationalizing efficiencies. You're operationalizing how you actually do what you do. How do you create solid operations for your marketing? How do you create solid operations for the sales? How do you onboard people? How do you delight people? How do you make sure, especially for you, that the invoice or the billing that they see every single month on their credit card or their billing statement, it's a delight. I have done something recently that I've never done before. Is I not because I had to, I just
Yeah.
canceled subscriptions that I didn't like seeing. I'm like,
Okay.
I'll find something else. Like this doesn't delight me. And the ones that I stick on with, it's a delight to see their subscription come through. Why is that? How can we turn our services so that people are not just happy to pay for it, but every time it comes through, you're like, I love that. I'd be more than happy to give them whatever subscription cost it is this month. Not because it's cheap, not because it's
Sure.
whatever it is, but it's the experience that they get. So how do you actually operationalize that and put it into a system or a process so that you don't have to be the one delivering it, but you can build a solid team if that is your desire to build a team around that and then continue to grow and add more value to more people.
Dude, I've never heard that, but that makes total sense. I was thinking about it last night. I'm probably what people consider a Luddite when it comes to most things tech. I'm one of the last adopters, but that wasn't true when it came to eliminating my landline and eliminating cable. Like I haven't had a landline in 20 years. I
Hey,
was on an old school brick phone. My mother-in-law. So look, dude, she would call my wife. She wouldn't answer. She'd call the house phone. I'd have to get up, answer, and then go get my wife. I cut that bad boy out. When I didn't see Bell South coming through anymore, I was fine. But when I saw like back then, all of these guys were fragmented, like Suncom dot whatever. Like I'm happy to pay those guys because my mother-in-law can't call the house. And then the same thing with cable. When we got rid of cable, and then you'd get like Netflix, Hulu. I was pumped to see Netflix and Hulu come through there, as long as it wasn't the big evil service provider that we had at the time. That's a heck of a way to. That's awesome. I'm stealing that one too.
Yeah.
Let's go. You mentioned you got a front let's start with the front end, because a lot of people I talk to are happy with the sales, but they could always, they want to increase sales or deal size or marketing. What are some of those ways they need to start looking at? What's the easiest way for them to scale more clients?
There's no easy button. Who are we
Ah,
talking to? Is this B2B? Is this B2C? What are we
B2B,
selling? What are we
B2B.
selling?
Shoot, we're going to use me as an example. In my case, mastermind coaching, group coaching.
Information and coaching.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think, you have to look at the major KPIs, the key performance indicators that matter most there. And it's always going to be number of qualified leads that come through, not just I got a lead for $1. Like, who cares? Like, qualified. Do they know what you do? Do they care about it? Do they see the value? Second is, are you selling to a conscious or unconscious market? Like, we need to figure that out specifically, because if you're selling to a conscious market, they know they suck and they need your help. If you're selling to unconscious market, then they don't know what they don't know. It's a quick story. One of my dudes, I call my dudes and my clients like friends, because it's fun to do business with friends. One of my dudes, he comes from a background of writing, I would say top 0.05% of the world. And I'm not exaggerating. He's just wrote, I can't really say where he wrote, but he did some writing that has been very influential for the country, the United States, let's put it that way. Sure.
All right, go ahead.
Great joke. You're quick on those. Anyways, he did that, but he wanted to go take that skill set and apply it to a market that he's passionate about. Okay, cool. How's that going? Oh, they don't really see the value. Like, why
Yep.
not? Because they don't care about this. Like, well, why not? Because they don't like, they're probably unconsciously incompetent at what he actually delivers, meaning they don't know they suck. So they don't see the value in it. And I'm
Correct.
using very simple, blunt language here because
Yeah.
that's essentially people hire you because they suck at something and they need help. I'm like, okay, cool. How do we reposition what you do to a market that knows that it's important, but knows they're also terrible at it and needs someone to help them? And then that's where you create your ideal like customer profile around what are the buying behaviors or patterns that trigger that they're interested in, that they know it. We created a search, created a list specifically around here are the specific people with specific parameters and company descriptions that align with your values. Plus, they also are investing in very specific tech that we know that if they're investing in this tech, they must care about this thing that you deliver. And we cross correlated that towards if they have very specific website hits and or website engagements, which means that they're investing in it, but it's not performing well. Now, with those three parameters, plus the qualitative of it's got to be cool people, they got to align with him, and et cetera, we're able to create a really effective outreach methodology and or like an inbound marketing system. Because I don't want thousands of leads. I don't need that, frankly. I need very solid conversations with people who are conscious and know that they need my support. And when you do that hard work in the beginning, then you can pull that metric of marketing qualified lead. And then from there, discuss with them, like, is this relationship going to pan out? And then we can qualify them even further. It's looking at the very specific areas in your front end from lead, qualification of lead, sales cycle, and seeing what needs to change, what needs to be improved. If you're sucking at lead like deal sizing, well, then we need to look at the qualitative pieces of your positioning statements. What are you actually doing? And position's not like, I do this thing for this market. Like that's not what it is. No one cares about that. What they care about is like, what are you delivering that's different? One of my other clients, she sells everything that everyone can sell online, right? Like the service is pretty much vanilla. Like, okay, whatever. Sure. But I found out and dug in, what are you actually doing that's different than anyone else is doing? And we found very interesting data points, like the process that she takes her clients through. They get a certain number of organic revenue, they get lower ad spend, and it's a very unique process. We package that to a new service. And instead of selling the hands, like I'll do all these things for you, we're starting to sell that thing. And when we sell that thing, we're selling the packaged service.
Yeah.
A packaged, unique mechanism, methodology to deliver a unique outcome. We anchor it towards the outcome. Now it's based on value. And the deals that we're closing are literally the current revenue that they have in their business.
Good night.
Why? Because the value of what you're delivering is anchored towards a result. You have proven path of it, getting those results, and it's different. It's not selling, oh, I'm going to sell you, what everyone else has. No one wants to buy the same old. They want to buy something new and unique that solves one problem.
Dude, you're talking about the difference between, and I love the way you say it, conscious or unconscious. Like for me, unconscious, where you're trying to solve a problem that people have, but they don't know they have. For the years with the explainer video business, I would run into that. Like, your videos suck. Like, no, our videos are pretty good. Like, no, they're pretty bad. I'm gonna create an animated version for you. Over and over and over with that was more difficult. The way I ended up with the more conscious buyers, like created a subscription service for financial advisors only that knew they needed content that was going to be relevant. They knew they needed that. Everybody else didn't know that they needed video. They were unconscious. Even moving toward group coaching or helping people create a 4-day work week, people knew they needed that. But even in doing that, I had to play around with a naming convention forever, because if you just say save more time or do this or do that, I'm okay with it. Would you like a 4-day? Oh yeah, I need that. I need a 4-day work.
Because you're selling the outcome. You're selling the thing.
Yeah.
It's less about here's how you're going to get the thing. It's like, the easy, everyone has a body, at least listening to this, unless you're AI. So everyone has health and nutrition advice. Who do you listen to? Well, what do you want? Oh, I want a stronger body. I want bigger biceps. I want a thinner waist. I want to lower my diabetes. I want to get rid of these meds, whatever it is, whatever service you have. Obviously, you have to have the results. You can't just make this up from air. Like, you got to be ethical and do this correctly. But You anchor it towards the outcome that they want, and then create like a delivery mechanism for that outcome. You just sell that thing. Like, do you want this thing? Do you want the bridge to get from here to there? If so, here's how to get it. That's it.
You're talking about finding that conscious market, finding the thing that's unique that sets you apart from everybody else. You can get more qualified leads instead of just 1,000 leads. What
Yep.
do you tell folks in terms of, since we're talking about scaling, do more by doing less, do good work? What are you telling them about scaling that process for driving in the leads? And I know that's a loaded question because it's going to be different for different people, but give me an example.
I mean, once you do the heavy lifting of who you're selling to, what they actually want, how they're describing their problems in their own language, the main problems they face, how to solve each one of those, and you have a unique way of solving those problems, then it's just a matter of your channels to outreach or to get them into the door. This is like everything from demand generation to go-to-market strategy to paid ads, like whatever works, it all works.
Right.
One of my other guys here in San Diego, literally every initiative we ever do with him always produces an outcome, and it always produces a favorable outcome. The key thing is you got to remain consistent over time. And number two, everything works. Now, will it work for you with your unique parameters, your constraints, your knowledge, and your metrics, and your budget, and your time availability? That's the art, crafting something that will work for you. Once you find what works and you want more of it, you literally just don't stop that thing and improve the quality of the input. I mean, same story. Like, I see tons of clients, and even one in particular, start, stop. This worked, but we stopped it. Like, why'd you stop it? Because I didn't see like this on the back end. Well, you didn't give it enough time. Okay, give it enough time. Like you it's like planting seeds in the soil. You got to actually water it and get some sunlight. Like, it's the same thing. You got to cultivate that over time. Obviously, you don't do this to the extent where you're not seeing any results for 3 months. This is a strategic approach, but you have to dial it into what we just mentioned. You, your goals, team, capacity, knowledge, budget, and just keep doing what works. Keep getting these thumbs up here on the screen.
Dude, I know if you're listening, it doesn't mean anything to you, but StreamYard has this awesome new AI-driven tool where it gives Raul thumbs up when I think it hears something from him that the machine likes. You're impressing maximum overdrive. When the overlords come, you'll be the last to go. Awesome job, Raul. If you're watching, you saw the thumbs up, dude. I don't know what's causing it, but it's a cool feature. So in driving in those sales, let's say I'm doing that, I'm driving in additional sales. How can I drive in the biggest? So when people start doing that, that's where they get into that limiting belief or that concern. Well, I was going to come more headaches. I'm going to have to scale the back end. I'm going to have to hire more people. How can they bring on more sales without necessarily driving up labor costs?
It really just depends what your goals are. Do you want more revenue? Do you want less work? Do you want higher profitability? Or do you actually want to take this and scale it to a different level of trajectory of revenue? So there's all these different parameters there, because some clients just want to have the same number of clients, higher profit per, or higher revenue per. If you increase your average LTV per client, you can have the same number of clients, the same amount of work week, more profit, and you can backfill a stronger staff.
LTV, tell them what LTV means.
It's a lifetime value of your client. But I think the key thing with LTV, there's 2 R's to that, especially in B2B. It's results and relationship. Business is all about relationship. You can get the results, but if you have no relationship, you're going out the door. Like, at this point, people want to do work with people that they care, know, and not just trust, but they like working with them.
Sure.
The life feature here. Unless you're just like a subscription and just like some tool that you don't need to build a relationship. But at this point, especially with the age of AI, people want to have more relationships with other people, and the fact that people are lonelier nowadays, which is a little interesting anecdote. But
we're more connected than ever and lonelier than ever. And as you're talking about, they want to see your name on the subscription. They don't want to see, I can't believe I paid that jackass again. They want to see that and light up. Like, I'm going to get to keep working with this fun guy, and he's going to help me out, and just be imaginary thumbs up. Now that I'm bringing on new people, I'm scaling a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what my goals are. So let's say your goals are you want to keep doing the same thing you're doing. So a bunch of people listening are coaching, and they have group coaching programs. So let's say they want to do masterminds instead of just a monthly subscription service, and they want to replicate that over and over every 3 months, want to start a new one, or maybe they want to double them up. What are some of the things on the back end as they start to scale that you tell people as they bring on, let's say, a virtual assistant or another instructor? How do they go about training these people, giving them direction, like what I started out with, talking SOPs. What do they do there?
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like this, or if they're growing the back end for an information coaching product, I mean, I've helped design and see the back end when we were trying to grow to like 100 million for the back end of an information coaching product. So this scales down to if you're just trying to earn healthy 6 or 7 figures. The key thing is less around all the tools and the tech stack. That's nice, and I think you're going to do well. The key thing, especially when you're growing and you want less headaches, like you need to hire A players. Like you want to go out of the way and like not hire the cheapest. You want to hire someone who's competent, because if it's all on you, you're the limiting factor.
Right.
Which sucks, but it's also great. Right? Because if you're like, oh, I have to learn how to do, let's say, for example, you want to start that mastermind and you have to figure out StreamYard, the whole Slack ecosystem, if you want to do that, whatever. And you're like, oh, now I have to learn that. And now you're the limiting factor for you to reach that next level of growth, unless you actually hire someone who specializes in building those things for your particular niche. Oh, they're expensive. Why? Because they specialize. But your higher likelihood of getting the outcome that you want is more likely. It's probably going to be cheaper long term. And
Sure.
It's worth the investment to either hire that person or hire that consultant or hire that staff member to come in, build it for you, because they have that experience. But it's less about, oh, do I need to build these SOPs? And that helps. That's part of the process. And thankfully now with AI, you can literally just slap it and create an SOP in like 2 seconds.
Yep.
It's less about that. It's more about, who am I missing that's going to help me go to the next level? And is it a knowledge gap? Because if I can buy knowledge, I can buy books, I can hire people to teach me this thing, or I can experience it myself. You're going to get the knowledge anyways. How do you want to buy it, or how do you want to live it? Is it an experiential comes with the knowledge piece, but is it also something like a technical thing? Do you just are unable to do it? And those are the things like to kind of look at when you're building the back end. I know this is more non-tactical and less like sexy in terms of like, oh, press this button, do this thing.
Sure.
But just learn, like going through it and getting punched and kicked in the teeth long enough, I would highly recommend hire the A player talent, get someone in the door, do it for you faster, better, and it'll be cheaper in the long run, even though it looks like a bigger price tag.
Where are you finding that A player talent?
Referrals, relationships. This is why business is all about referrals. Podcasting is a great way of doing it. And the nice thing is, once you find that one person, I remember doing this when we hired a CMO, you find that one person, they got buddies. And those buddies have buddies. A players hang out with A players. Like they know who to talk to, and that saves you a significant amount of time. Other ways to do it, like, oh, I don't know anyone in my network. Well, then like go to the podcast here. Who listens to this podcast? Go to associations, go to trade shows, go to like anywhere where humans hang out. Just go there and talk to them. Build a relationship.
In terms of that, in terms of finding, so that's doing the big things is going to be to help you scale. In terms of doing maybe some of the lower level tasks that you shouldn't be doing, are you still recommending that people hire some VAs? How do all of it can't be AI? So what are you telling people in that case?
Yeah, so every single activity that you do, either you do, someone else does, or a tool does. So you got to discern it to determine, is there a tool that I can actually build this out for me? And can I hire someone to build that system for me? And thankfully now, like literally with all the spew of thousands of tools from AI, and these are application layers on top of the language models. They're impressive. Like you can do significantly more with significantly less, like the ethos of this podcast. So you may not actually need to hire people anymore to create leverage, but you do need to create leverage. That's the key point here. If you're going to be hiring an assistant or you're going to be hiring a specialist, you want to hire someone who is preloaded. It comes with the batteries loaded, who is ready to go for that specific thing. I don't care if it's a virtual assistant or an executive assistant, or if it's going to be like a $20, $24 an hour person. What matters is they know what they need to do. They can execute it. You give them the guidance, and then you support them through a leadership stance plus the remote operating system. And the essence of the remote operating system are 3 things. You need to have centralized communications, information, and action. Communications, information, and action. Communications, those are your pings, emails, chats. Ideally, one tool can do that. Second is your information. Where are you storing your knowledge base, your brain? And where are you storing the actions that need to happen? The 2 tools that I use for that, I use them day in and day out, are going to be ClickUp and Basecamp. Basecamp for client-facing things, ClickUp for internal things, because I can do communication, information, and action in one location at scale, helping teams run more effectively and needing less of me.
Basecamp, I understand that's more of a CRM, correct?
No, it's a project management system.
Does it work? Basecamp's the dudes that created that.
They
Ruby
did
on
build a
Rails.
CRM. They did build
Gotcha.
a CRM in the past. So
It's Jason Fried. I
yeah,
forget. I remember they wrote, what book did they write that everybody just went gaga over? Rework. It was like a picture book, dude. They wrote that thing like 15, 20 years ago and everybody lost their mind. Great book. So, and that's exactly what I tell a lot of folks, not nearly as succinctly as you did, but it's got to be all in one place. Emailing back and forth is a great way to never grow your business, or having it in 15 places on Google Drive is terrible. I use Asana just because it links up to Gmail very easily and I can assign something there and everything happens in one task. And if it's a recurring thing, we'll create an SOP. And as Raul pointed out, creating an SOP these days it's almost idiot proof. You just create a video of you doing it, get the transcription of it, hand it over to, let's say, something simple like Chat GPT and say, will you make an SOP for me? I said, of course I will. And then it makes it and you attach it. And then, so once you do that, and I'm going to come back to ClickUp, how do you that here's the big issue. So people's like, yeah, I know, but how, I don't want to manage them and I don't want to spend all this. How do you that they're doing it correctly? What's some key touch points there that make sure everything stay on the rails?
Yeah. So bluntly, like if you don't want to do the work, like you don't deserve to grow.
Okay.
I don't want to manage people. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then we can figure it out without managing.
Then just don't. Yeah.
I know it sounds like who is this guy? But there is a level where you're going to have to just suck it up and do it. Once you get over that and like, okay, how do I actually know that they're doing these things correctly every single time? You just create benchmark performance metrics for your team. Yeah, the easiest ones are things going through the stages and being executed? Do we measure error rates? Do we measure communication rates? Does our team update? I'll tell you, this is a real thing. This is actually really that's not hard to solve, but this is a real issue that clients facing. Is like, oh, I just found out that this star player inputted fake calls in the CRM.
Okay.
How do you create systems where the action itself records the reports? No one else has to create the report because of that. Maybe you can, in this situation, maybe you can connect it to a dialer, and then now every single call has to be recorded, or at least shown proof that it happened. And then the report is auto-created and created through the automation within the system itself.
Sure.
So every Friday you get the report and you get to see and even measure and read. I'm very anti-micromanaging. When I hire people who are A players or A minus, or even it's a B plus player, whatever.
Sure.
I am very upfront saying, this is the expectation I have of you. Here's how this is going to work. Here's how we're going to measure success. And if you can't keep up, please let me know. We can either have you, grow into this, or it's not a good fit. And I want to know that within 3 weeks. And so I'm very upfront, and I believe that people rise to the expectations that you give them because we treat people as we see them. This requires you as a leader to really step up. But second, people behave to the level of expectation you have of them. If you treat them like babies and that they're like, oh, I have to do all these things for you because you're an incompetent human, they're going to behave incompetently.
Sure.
So
I stole a line from Tim Ferriss about if you run around with like a chicken with your head cut off and then you assign that to the VA, that's what they're going to do because you hadn't told them any different.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's like you have to show up differently. And
dude, let's take that's a fast 30 minutes, by the way. So let's take a quick turn here. You wrote a book. So tell me, can you give us a book recommendation either that you're reading now or that you've read before that you feel like's kind of in line with what we're talking about, or just a book you like?
A book that I like. Okay, so I read a ton of books.
I know you do.
Yeah. I would say that the books that I have in my shelf are the ones that I bought physically because they made a big impact. And the ones that I have here are from Mr. Lavin. From when I was in school, he funded the program that helped teach me how to become an entrepreneur. And the book is called The Winners Make It Happen, Losers Let It Happen. That's a good book just to learn about that. The second book is The Practice by Seth Godin. And the essence of that book is just daily practice. How and why. If you want to do something, like Aristotle says, If you want to become a harpist, you just play the harp. If you want to become a whatever, just do the thing. You got
Yeah.
to practice every single day. And then listening to Sass led me to Zig. And Zig has been like my book mentor, and I listen to a lot of whatever he says. Every single book of Zig, but to see at the top would be my first recommendation.
Dude, I got to see him live before he passed away, and he was 80 whatever years old, but he was giving it full tilt. He was, and I'm doing an impression like you're listening, you can't see it, but
Yeah.
he's running around on stage and he kneeled down. He had to have somebody help him back up, but he was giving all the same. He was
I love
knocking
it.
it out, brother. He was taking care of business.
Yeah, I love it.
One more softball question before we leave here. It's not a softball at all, but I ask everybody in terms of your own either personal life or business life. What is one thing right now that Raul should be doing less of?
What should I be doing? Oh, worry. Just don't worry.
He said, just this. I shouldn't even be talking to you right now, Charles. If you work less, what will that let you do more of?
If I worried less, I
No,
could
no, no,
show
work.
up. Oh, if I
Yeah. Oh,
work
sorry.
less,
What did you say? Worry or work?
worry.
Oh, I thought you said work. Worry.
No, we need work. Humans need more work than we think that we do. We always want to have that. Oh, I just want to. Karl Marx said this, that all humans want to do is fish in the morning and hunt in the evening and cut, what is it called? Complain in the evening, or something like that. Like, no, they don't. I think work gives us purpose. We actually, frankly, need purpose to do live life well, and apparently, work helps us do that. We actually need more work than the work needs us. Don't
But you want to,
overwork and hurt your relationships and your health and your mind, your body, your soul. But you don't be lazy either. Like, that's not a life.
you want to worry less. I'm on board with that. If you worry less, what will that give you more time to do?
I think I'll just be able to show up stronger.
Okay. Get to play with those babies more.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, good deal, dude. Tell everybody how they can find you.
The best way to find me is the website dogoodwork.io. That's dogoodwork.io. IO is input, output.
There you go, Frone. All right. Raul, dude, it's good catching up with you. We'll chat again soon. Thank you for being here today.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Don't take off just yet. I've created a new program just for you, helping overworked entrepreneurs create their very own 4-day work week in 90 days or less. Look, if you'd rather spend more time with family, friends, traveling, exercising, having the time to do what you want instead of, I don't know, putting out never-ending fires, tackling another to-do list, and checking email at 9 p.m., then go to my website, yourcharlesalexander.com. If you've created the income you want but don't have the time freedom you deserve, then this is for you. And as always, if you don't, an angel may actually lose its wings. True story. Have a great day.